Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight we're on episode 235, and first and foremost, I'm going to apologize to anybody that's looking for this link on Facebook. I don't know what they changed there, but I tried to post it 3 separate times, and it's not coming up the way I want it to where you can click on it. At one point, it put up a picture of a rug. I don't know what's going on. But in any case, hopefully you found us, joined us here, and we're going to have our little chat. Tonight, as I said, we're on episode 335, and we're going to be talking about the video I released there a few days ago. So, if you did not see that video, I had mentioned in the past that I was looking to purchase a piece of property to do some bushcrafty things on it, or use it to do some bushcrafty things on it. It's not the only reason I wanted it, but that was one of the reasons I wanted it. And this plan started, how long ago did I start talking about this, Ben? A couple years ago now, must be.
A couple years ago.
Easy. In any case, it got complicated, as things do.
What happened to my tape?
What? Oh. Dog found the roll of tape. But yeah. Oh, hey, Danny, thanks for joining us there. Red Sand Adventures. It got complicated. I guess a little backstory on the property just to fill everybody in. It was a family property. It's where I grew up, or one of the places I grew up. I lived between two places when I was growing up. This is the latter. It's always been a family piece of property. We had a house on it for a while. The house burnt down back, I think it was 2008 is what I tracked down on there. And the property has kind of sat since then. It's been used for the odd thing here and there. Dad put some stuff on it. I had some stuff on it. We were in the mix of doing some stuff to it. Then when Hurricane Fiona came through, all the blowdowns and stuff got really bad in there. And we weren't visiting the property super often. And it was enough time in between that people had started going down there and dumping garbage and stuff like that. So we kind of decided to just leave the property all blown in over the driveway to keep people out of there until we figured out what to do with this thing. And of course I knew what I wanted to do with it, and that was the plan. But as I said, things got a little complicated. But long story short, it got uncomplicated. It's now mine. I've purchased it, and I can pretty much do what I want with it. So the first thing I did, as I showed in that video, was we had to punch the driveway back in past all that Hurricane Fiona blowdown. And now that I've gotten in there and looking around again, there is a lot of work. There is a significant amount of work that's going to have to go in back there. But I'm kind of excited for it in one aspect. And I guess that's kind of what we'll talk about a little bit here tonight. And I know I've talked... I think I might have even mentioned this before you moved out west, Ben. Did I not?
Yeah, maybe.
So that's how long ago this was.
You've mentioned it a few times over the years, probably while we were still...
Dog still giving a hard time?
He's picking at things.
So we were just discussing before the episode how strong a dog's bite can be, and I guess that's what Ben's keeping an eye on there. He is finding out firsthand how strong that bite can be, perhaps on things it should not be
Anything
on.
gets in his teeth.
Troy.
So
he's crushing a tennis ball in front of me.
And we know how hard a tennis ball is to crush. I mean, that takes a bit of pressure to it. But yeah, anyway, we got the driveway punched in there now. I am going to start going down when I have time. Like I'm sure most folks know now, I teach the motorcycle course on weekends through the summer. And this weekend happens to be the last one, so that's going to free up a little bit of time for me. However, it kind of bleeds right into hunting season. And if anybody was paying attention, they changed the regulations this year in Nova Scotia that we can now basically hunt all Sundays of general deer season. In the past, it was usually only the first 2 Sundays they would allow Sunday hunting. And then after that, Sunday was your day of rest, generally. But I assume, and I don't have any stats to back this up, I'm just assuming, with the significant decrease in hunters in general over the last, decade, it's probably not as a big deal to have the Sunday hunts anymore, because most people that still hunt, at least in this area, they all kind of have their dedicated spots. We all know where we hunt now, you know what I mean? So it's not really interfering with anything else like it used to in the past, when you used to have hundreds of people flocking into the woods. But in any case, that is one thing I'm probably not going to do with the property. And that's the first thing somebody asked me is oh, are you going to start doing some hunting on it? No, that is actually not the plan for that property. At least not deer hunting or anything like that. I may do some videos on rabbit snaring at some point, but I got to look into some of the regulations on that. I'd like to do it with traditional trap setting and snares, and I just got to make sure it's legal before I do it and record it and put it on the internet. So uh,
Snaring should be fine.
I think it should be fine because you are allowed to snare rabbits, and
Yeah.
anything that I'm going to make out of primitive tools would be equivalent to a snare. I'm not going to do any like deadfalls or spring traps or anything like that. We'll probably just do like maybe natural cordage snare type situations on some rabbit tracks and stuff back there. Um,
Yeah.
Hey, Fish, thanks for joining us there. Fish85 joined us. Just read tonight we lost over 200,000 hunters in the past 5 years in Michigan. And the numbers are declining everywhere, honestly, Fish. They're like, I haven't worked for natural resources now in almost 13 years or so. But even when I worked with natural resources, it was steadily declining. Like every year, the bear baiting sites and stuff like that, the people had to register, there'd be less and less and less and less. We'd be selling less hunting or deer hunting licenses every single year. We sell less fishing licenses every year. So the numbers are definitely declining, unfortunately. It seems like there's less people wanting to get out and do these activities, which is absolutely silly in my mind. I couldn't imagine doing anything other than getting out there and having a little bit of fun.
I
And
think
go ahead.
I have a theory on this, and I think in some ways we've made it a little bit more difficult.
How so? I'm willing to
Uh,
explore this with you.
for one thing, like gun regulations, and even like the villainization of guns in general has gotten a lot of people to step away from. I've known a handful of people who've turned into guns just because they're tired of dealing with a lot of this. So there's that there alone. Just even the regulations, like trying to get licenses for me, like I've tried in the past for a few things, often seemed like a lot more hoops to jump through than I seem to remember it was growing up. So those little things that make it inconvenient can make it a little less attractive to people. So I do truly believe that that has an effect on it, right?
You know what? That's definitely going to have an effect, especially with all the hogwash that's going on right now with the I don't want to say banning the. No, I guess that's exactly what it was with like the big lists that came out where they banned a lot of different rifles and stuff here in Canada. A lot of people are nervous of that because now they don't know what they can have, what they can't have, because it's quite a substantial list. And unless you're fairly well informed or keep yourself well informed, it is kind of tricky to follow that stuff. And for a lot of people, you're right, Ben. They're probably just like, you know what, not worth it. Just not going to get into it.
Yeah. So it's getting harder and harder, and then even like I'm coming from I'm old now, but I remember as a youth before gun registration, before all this stuff, and I'm not anti any of this stuff, so don't think anyone I'm here preaching. It's just I do remember it seemed easier, like it was easier to get your hands on a gun. It was easier to go out hunting, even carrying them around. Like nobody hassled it. I live in a city, and I'd be terrified to be carry my rifle to my car.
Oh, absolutely. I can remember in high school, and I'm sure you do too, Ben. I'd have a shotgun behind the seat of the truck
Yeah.
in a high school. Because we'd go hunting after high school. We'd go get rabbits or birds or something like that. It was not uncommon to find a shotgun behind the seat of a truck in a high school. Now, I will caveat that with it was, had a proper trigger lock on it. The ammunition was not stored inside it. Like, it was properly stored, but it wouldn't be a surprise. Now, if I was to hop in somebody's truck and they lean the seat ahead and I see a shotgun, I might be a little bit more unnerved by it today than I would have been like 25 years ago in high school.
And that's my point. I feel like in some ways it's gotten a little harder. Like even buying ammunition. I remember a time when you needed an FAC to get a firearm, but you didn't need it to get ammo. Now you need it to get the ammo. Like that extra step doesn't seem like a big step to a lot of people, but to somebody who's never been into it and looks at it, it is. And I don't know how easy it is even to get there's the wildlife resources card you have to get in most provinces. I think all provinces. I don't know how easy it is to sign up for that. I got that when it all came out, so it was quite easy for me. But I don't know for somebody fresh looking to get into it how simple that would be. And even then, when I got to Nova Scotia, and I said, "Where can I go hunting?" Because I was new to Nova Scotia when I moved there. It took me years to figure out where I was allowed and wasn't allowed, to the point where I just didn't. I didn't hunt because so much of the land seemed owned and registered, and to get like permission, like to go talk to somebody I didn't know, had no connection to, and say, "Can I hunt your land?" Or even like, how did I track them down? Like that stuff seemed insurmountable to me. So if I did hunt, it was crown land, and I had, usually had to find somebody who knew a bit about the area that would sort of guide me around it. And that those people are fewer and farther between. So even the people that are interested would struggle to get started. Now, I know that's off topic a bit, but
No, it's a good point, though. I never really thought about that side of it, but it is absolutely perfectly valid.
yeah, I think so.
I guess. Okay, so jumping a little bit back more on topic, Danny asked me over here how much land, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring up during this podcast was it's not as much as people think it is. For some reason, I think people thought I bought like 100 acres of land. No, 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 folks. This is a small plot of land. I think it's between 2 and 3 acres. But that was one of the points I wanted to make is you don't need a lot of land to have a lot of fun. I used to do a lot of bushcrafty stuff on this property, and I'm kind of half living my old glory days in the back of my head with this. And once I got down there looking at it, I'm like, holy crap, I am going to be in over my head for a lot of this stuff. But like I said, I'm still kind of excited for it. The step I'm at right now is like the legal side of it. I'm looking at what do I need to start doing what I want to do. Because yes, I want to do bushcrafty stuff with this property, but I also want to keep this property in good enough condition that when I'm old, retired, and 1 foot in the grave, I can sell this thing off and give a good nest egg to Lily. You know what I mean? Because she will need it more than I will once I pass, most definitely. And maybe she wants to keep it as land. I don't know. That'll be her choice, but I at least want to keep it in a situation where the option is to sell it off. So I'm not going to go down in there and muck up a bunch of stuff and make it uninhabitable. But I do got some ideas for stuff down there. And a big one I want to work on that I'm kind of excited for because I haven't done it yet with bushcrafting. At least not to the scale I'm going to do it here. The property down there is built literally on a massive slab of clay. And I am so curious to see how well does that clay work for making stuff, because it is pretty good clay. Like, to feel it, the texture off it, it's good. It's a little wet because it's a wetter area, but if I can get that out, and I can't remember what the correct term for it is, you basically take some out, you fire harden some of it. It's probably not going to turn out well, but you crush that up, and you use that as a bonder in more of the wet stuff. One, it'll dry it out, it'll make it a little more malleable, but it also absorbs all that stress once you fire harden it. So it's kind of a two-part thing. You can play with it at the start just to see how malleable it is. You can try firing something, but it's like a 50-50 shot. There's a really good chance it's going to crack, it's going to fire stress, and it's going to break on you. But if you put, like I said, there is a specific name for it, and I can't remember it. I was hoping Ben would, but apparently he doesn't either.
I'm trying to look it up.
Oh, okay, fair enough. It is like literally you break the first firing through, and you crush it into a powder, and you use that to mix in. And literally where it's already fired a little bit, it'll absorb a ton of that stress from when you're fire hardening stuff, and it's way less likely to crack. And I'm excited to try that. And maybe the clay down there's garbage, but there is so much of it. I'm so hoping that it'll work, because if it works, I got more ideas I want to do with that clay. I'd like to make... Was editing this week's drift and crashed out there for a minute. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show, buddy. I guess the big projects I want to work on down there, one, I want to make an outside forge. But I have a brake drum forge that Ben actually gave to me when he moved out west. And that's what I want to take down and use for the base of it. Originally, I was going to make an outside forge. The outside structure that you originally had around that kind of fell apart, so I stripped it all away just down to the brake drum forge again, and I was just going to make an outside stand for it, and bam, outside forge. But with the woods ban this year, my new idea is I'm going to kind of make like a blacksmith shack. I'm going to put the forge in there, kind of like a 2 half walls, and then I'm going to take the vent off one of those
Grog is the word that's coming up here.
I think that's what it's called. I think it's called grog. That sounds
Yeah.
right.
Grog is added to clay to get more strength. I thought it was something else, but yes. Grog is, so sand also works. I know people use
Yeah, you can use
sand
different
for
binders.
every piece of, yeah.
And I do have access to sand. There's a beach literally right beside the property, and that's another thing I like about that, is that property is literally within 2 minutes of beachfront, and 2 minutes of multiple trails, rivers, and other things. It's a good hub just to get deeper in the woods in general. But yeah, I'm going to try some stuff with the clay. I'd like, oh yeah, getting back to the blacksmith hut. I'm going to take like the top off of one of those oil furnaces and make a great big kind of single chimney. You know what I mean? Like the big square type that goes over the forge. That way, and once again, this is one of the legal things I got to check out once it's all said and done. I'm going to get one of my contacts from Natural Resources to come down, look this thing over, and see if even if there is a fire ban on, if I build this thing correctly with the pipe, and I'll put spark arresters and stuff in it, if I could potentially still run it during, maybe not a complete woods ban. I think that might just be, too bold, but maybe on the days where you can't burn. You know what I mean? Like, even during the fire season here in Nova Scotia, even on burning days when you're allowed to burn, there's time zones when you can burn. Sometimes it's going to be any time after 2, other times it's any time after 7. I would like to make this so that it's not considered an open air burn. It'll be considered a vented burning device, in which case, as long as it has a proper pipe on it and spark arrestor, I should be able to run it technically even during woods bans. But once again, I probably wouldn't be that bold. That's just kind of waving a big middle finger, and I don't know if I want to attract that kind of attention. But that's an idea.
Would you consider propane forge?
No, I'm going to use it with charcoal. I'm going to use it just like you set it up. I'm going to modify the blower a little bit, and I'm going to make a steel stand for it, and I'm going to build a kind of hood for it. But other than that, I'm leaving her basically like you had it, because I used it a couple times and it worked really well. So why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It does work.
It works really well. Now, Ben also was nice enough to give me 2 kind of anvil setups there. The big square piece of steel is kind of in my garage, and I have it in a spot, and getting it out of that spot is going to be a pain. So that may come later. But the railroad anvil that you set me up, I actually have that set up and more mobile. And I'd like to set that down there, and that would be a lot nicer too, especially if I had like the blacksmith hut set up, because now it's going to be out of the elements and stuff like that, and I'll keep a few basic blacksmithing things down there. Because the idea behind this property, originally, like I told some folks, I think maybe in that video, now I can't remember, is I go past it every Monday night. I go to the fire department meetings. Every Monday night I'm going to the fire department. Ideally, I would like to plant a really big garden in there in one section. We used to have a garden there when I lived there, and I'd like to retill it, replant the garden, and start offsetting some of our fresh food costs. Mainly because I love vegetables, but I like them real fresh. You know what I mean? So if I plant the garden, stop in on Monday nights before the fire department, do all my weeding and stuff like that, and then, hopefully in the fall, I'll have lots of harvests and things like that. And I'm not looking to make like a huge variety of stuff. I'm looking to grow stuff that I can change into like preservatives. So there's tons of blackberries down there. I may look into making some blackberry jam. I'd probably do some tomatoes and cucumbers to make pickles and chow. We all like kale and lettuce here, and that stuff grows like weeds, and you can get multiple harvests off it. I'll probably get a lot of those. Now, the things I probably won't grow that most people are going to be like, well, why wouldn't you grow that? That's part of a garden. I'm probably not going to grow any corn or carrots. Both of which, the root carrots, they just never really seem to take good in the soil down there because it's so clay-like. It's just a little too compact. You always end up with like these tiny little stagnant carrots every time we tried to grow them. And corn never really seemed to do well there either for whatever reason. So those are the 2 things I probably won't grow. But potatoes, that's another big one. I like potatoes. The girls not so much, but I love potatoes. And they're a very easy vegetable to keep for a long period. Basically, you just need a root cellar. And I basically have a root cellar at the back of my house. It's the water shack is what we call it. It's where all the stuff for the house is, like the hot water tank and things like that. But it is a cement pit that's dug below the frost line, always stays cold. Very easy root cellar. I can put a couple shelves down there. I'll be able to store potatoes most likely all winter. And that will feed me, and I like to eat. So I am happy. But yeah, that was the original idea, and then I wanted to expand on it. So the blacksmith hut was one for sure, and I wanted to put the stuff that Ben had given me into this because this idea was originally something I developed way back when we originally started Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. So I'd still like to keep a little bit of honorific to that. And if I could get something that both Ben and I have done into it, that would be that much better because believe it or not, since I put that video out, I've had people reach out to me to say once it's up and running, they want to come and see demonstrations or something. And I know Danny has already talked to one of those groups because one of those, and you've probably seen the messages on that, Ben. There was a group, and I'm not going to say it here because I don't know what Danny has said or hasn't said and not all that. But anyway, there is a group that approached me for PEI. And unfortunately, not living in PEI, I sent them in Danny's direction. So hopefully he's going to be handling working with those folks. But then they have since reached back out to me saying that they are going to be starting some locations here in Nova Scotia and are going to be equally as interested in me doing something with them. I have also sent them your name potentially for out in your neck of the woods too. So you may get a message on that randomly. They don't know the people out there, but they're going to send an email out that way. Remind me at the end and I'll tell you the group. Unless you read the text.
Probably. Yeah. So that big steel piece of anvil I gave you, that literally weighs like 300 pounds.
Yeah, I know. It sucks every time I got to move it around the garage. I had to rebuild the whole wooden stand for it, so I had to pick it up out of that. I built an all new one for it and picked it back up and put in that, but it's at the very back corner of my garage. I have a shelf unit there and kind of like it has a big opening where the previous owners used to have something there, but it's a perfect little spot to put, like, I had the anvil under there because that's where I do all my metalworking and it works great. And I don't know if I want to take it out of there because I use it a lot.
It's quite a piece of steel. I remember when I got it, it was destructive.
I dropped it once and almost hit my foot, and it was like if that had hit my foot, I would have lost toes.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that's only one of the things I want to do there.
We're talking like 6 inches wide, 9 inches, and almost like
it's got to be longer than that, Ben. It's damn near 10 inches, if not longer. Like it is a massive hunk of metal.
Yeah.
But it's like that big by, like I said, 10 inches long. It's solid.
I think it's longer than 10 inches.
It could be. It's been a while since I had it out of that wood holder because it's heavy to get out of there.
I thought it was close to 2 feet long.
It could be. Like I said, it stands up to about my waist, but I don't know how much of that's wood anymore. I can't remember. The day I brought it home from your house was the day I decided I was going to rebuild the bottom off it and then never move it again. So that's about how far it's made it. But
I had a lot of ideas of how I was going to build my blacksmith Smith forge, so we can definitely discuss that. I had a couple ideas. If you built more or less a frame and then just made that tin cloth, then you could make flaps. And then, because in the summer it's going to be way too hot to have walls, honestly. And in the winter, you'd be like to be able to close it in, but still ventilate well.
Well, that's why I thought two sides, just the triangle for the extra support, and leave the bottom probably 4 feet open so for airflow, or go the opposite. I don't know which way, but anyway, we will talk about that. Aside from the blacksmithing idea, I'd like to make an outside kitchen area there, completely bushcraft style. So once again, if this clay works out well, I'll look for some stones, build a nice little barbecue area with an oven section in there out of the clay. Hopefully it hardens up and doesn't fall apart in the first rain. We'll see. This is one of the things we're going to learn together. I could put a weekend's worth of work in this. First rainstorm, it's gone. But these are the things we're going to try together. It's the stuff I've always wanted to try but never really had a spot to do it. Simply because to build something like that out in the woods, one, they probably don't want you to, and two, if somebody found it, they're just going to kick it over anyway. You know what I mean? Because people are mean. Send me a picture of the one.
It's a great place to practice different shelters and even just practice different outfits that you get. Like whatever bushcrafting equipment you get, that's the perfect test place.
And that's the thing. Now, If I wanted to erect a structure I could stay in, that's a building permit. I can erect a shed as long as it's under a specific square footage and it's not built with the intentions of staying in. No building permit and a lot less money. So that's where we're starting. We'll get an area to work from, but if I stay there, I'll just bring a tent or I'll bring a camper or something like that. You know what I mean? Eventually, I've already been talking to the building inspectors. You can convert it into a recreational camp with minimal effort and permits. But I just got to confirm some stuff there, because where the house did burn, there is still septic access and there's still well access. There is no power access, though, because when the house burnt, it took power pole with it. And I don't know if that's going to cause complications, because I don't want to put this thing on grid. That's another big thing I'd like to stay true to with this, is I would like this to be a completely off-grid place. Now, that's not no power, that's just off-grid. I'm most likely going to have a small solar setup there. Maybe an inverter, something like Ben has here. We've talked about that on the past channels. That seems to work great for you, Ben. And for all I would be doing there would probably be more than enough for what I need. Charge my cell phone, charge my laptop, run an LED light. You know what I mean? That's probably all I would ever need.
Yeah.
Until eventually I upgrade it, and maybe then if I was staying in the place, I would put more stuff, but...
Yeah.
So Fish asks, can you use the well with a hand pump? And yes, I can use the well with a hand pump. It is a dug well with well crocks, but here's the kicker on that. The water itself is not really drinkable. It's got high manganese, I think is what's in it the last time we had it tested. However, since then, there was a beaver that had built, and this was one of the complications we ran into and had to take care of. A beaver had built a massive beaver dam down the back end of the property, and there's kind of a wetter area there, and he actually managed to dam it up to the point that it flooded half the property. So this year, anybody that lives on the East Coast knows that it has been brutally dry. Dry enough, completely dried up the entire pond he had made. The water just wasn't flowing good enough. So we have since taken care of that problem, because I had to look into how you change or remove stuff like that. And there is actually a process. You can't just go in, like, you know, the first time I said, oh, I got a beaver, I got to take care of it. Half the people I seen was like, oh, just either trap it or shoot it. Well, okay, that's a great idea, but then what do I do with the beaver dam afterwards? I can't just tear a beaver dam down and let this big wall of water rush into my neighbor's place, you know what I mean? Like, there was a proper way this all had to go through. Since I think the beaver has gone away, I think it just kind of expired. I knew where it came from, and I had placed a couple trail cams to see if it was traveling, and it hasn't been, but it also could be just because it's been so dry. So I don't know. That's another thing that we're going to have to combat on this property, is the potential of beavers moving back in. So we'll see that. But the whole point was, where that had flooded up, I'm worried that it's contaminated the drinking water to the point where it's just no longer salvageable. Now, the good news is, I know that there is a clean spring of water on the top corner of the property. It would have to be redug or drilled, but I know it's there, because when the house was built, or not when the house was built, when we were putting an extension on the house, we were drilling sonotubes. We were only going down like 8 feet or something like that, and we hit a spring where the water was literally coming up the sonotube and running out, and it was the most crystal clear, clean water you could ever imagine. So I do know where there is a little water tucked away on the property. Once again, I would have to test it, because it is uphill with the septic field, but at the same time, it's only maybe 150 feet in between, and I don't know if that's causing complications. So there's a lot of stuff down that avenue that I'm going to figure out as I go. But the plan right off the get-go is I'm not going to be drinking the water off the property, unless it's heavily treated. You know what I mean? But even at that, I'll probably find the old well, because it's still all blown in there. I went digging around for it, and I just got caught up on too many blowdowns and stuff, so I'm actually going to have to clean some of them out to go in there and look at it. Once I find it, I'll get a water sample, send it off for testing, and see what that comes back with and decide from there. Because maybe they just say it's high in manganese, in which case I could probably run it through a Sawyer water filter, and for all I drink, I'd be fine. I mean, I probably wouldn't drink gallons and gallons and gallons off it, but for all I drink, I would be fine. Because even when I lived there, I drank the water. The manganese didn't kill me. It's just you don't want high concentrations off it in you at all times.
So, might be a good opportunity to test different purification systems, though.
And that's the other thing. Maybe we can try some purification systems. We'll run them through them, send those water samples in for testing, and see what they actually come back as clean. So that's
'Cause I,
another thought that I had for that property.
my mind immediately goes to the charcoal sand and what is the other filter system, right?
Um,
Pebbles.
yeah, gravel, sand,
Pebble.
sorry, gravel, sand, charcoal, and then, whatever.
A lot
Cat
of
fuzz.
sand together.
You know what I mean?
Or cotton. Yeah.
Whatever at the
Cloth.
bottom just to pull the sediment out. But yeah, I'd love to try a couple of those things and send it in. I got to find out how much the water test is. I know if I'm testing it for the purposes of the building inspector, what the cost is. But if you're just sending them in for random testing, I think it's like $100 a pop. In which case, I think I know somebody that tests water, and I got to get in contact with them. And maybe we can have a whole experiment out of this. Truck camping on this
Well,
property.
even getting a cheap microscope and looking in to see if you can see things going on in there. Like, is there any organisms swimming around in it? You won't get like mineral content, but I think there's a cheap parts per million indicator you can buy from Walmart. I've seen before. It won't tell you what those parts are, but it'll give you an idea of how much debris and stuff is in it, right?
Well, I even thought
So,
about testing things like the alkalinity and higher iron contents and see what these different methods actually pull out. Because I got a bunch of those test strips sitting on my counter
yeah,
from when I was testing
that's
the
all.
water.
That's all good stuff to sort of get an idea of what might be going on in your water. And then if you find things that are super promising, then maybe it's worth the extra $100 to test a few things.
Exactly. So that might be
Uh,
something else we plan out. And this is what I want to talk about here is what are your folks' ideas for me to do on this? Now keep it realistic. I have to be able to accomplish this, and I have to be able to do it reasonably inexpensive. And when I say reasonably inexpensive, I'm not going to drop thousands of dollars on this. I can't go broke, but I don't mind spending some money. They sell the kits at Home Depot by me. Okay, we got a Home Depot here. I can try it out. There's one in Dartmouth. If Home Depot has it, Home Hardware may have it.
yeah.
I am going to, like I said, I am going to put a shed up there. Right now, there is 2 campers on the property. I'm going to get rid of those. There's a ton of blowdowns that got to be cleaned up. I would like to try and do some, like I said, the outside kitchen area. I'm going to build that all out of clay, have that set up. I'd also like to try and make a community fire pit area, because eventually I would like to invite some folks down to enjoy this place with me, and maybe we could, maybe we have an ABA meetup if Ben comes to this neck of the woods, or if other people are in this neck of the woods, or whatever. I would like to have it there. And I am going to clear some of the property to have a little bit of grass and things like that. That way we could set up some tents or a camper, things like that. Now, the other idea I have for this property is I'm going to try some horticulture to get rid of mosquitoes, because mosquitoes are very prevalent in that area. I'm pretty sure we breed them for the entirety of the East Coast, but I'm not 100% sure. So I know there's some plants you can plant that should severely dampen the amount of mosquitoes that are in an area. Things like lemongrass, and I can't remember the other ones, chamomile and a few other ones. I don't have the list in front of me, unfortunately, but there is things that I can try to see if it makes a difference in the mosquito population, because it might take 2 years, like this year or next year. I'll just buy a ton of lemongrass and I'll plant it all over the property, and I'll just see what the mosquitoes are like, because I know what the mosquitoes are like there when it's not there. And then the next year I could add in something else, and we'll try a few things. Like, I'm even willing to try the whole, I seen online, if you mix scope, like, the mouthwash with a couple things and spray it around, maybe that works. This will be a good area for me to try some of this stuff. It's not my main front lawn.
Is it scope or Listerine? And I think they said it had to be the blue stuff.
Yeah, I know it was very specific. Same as green Irish Spring soap run through a cheese grater and sprinkled around. I've seen a bunch of things, and I'm going to try some of this stuff. There's a lot of deer activity through this piece of property. Though I'm not going to be hunting them, I can still try some things, maybe deer deterrents, because I am, with the garden there, I am going to need some sort of deterrent. I'm hoping to put some fruit trees on there, and eventually I'm maybe even thinking of raising some livestock potentially in this area. But once again, I got to look into the legalities of that. I want to make sure everything is done by the book. That way, one, if I'm recording it and putting it online, I don't get an unsuspecting visit in the middle of the night, like, Robert, we know you're in there. We have the video evidence. Come on out. We need to talk. And two, if anything ever happens to me, I want to make sure the girls have zero problem doing something with it after I'm gone. I don't want there to be like, oh yeah, if he had done this or got this permit, you would have been fine, but now you're going to be tied up in court for a year and a half. I don't want that kind of crap to happen either. So I am trying to go through it the best I can. I tried the Listerine concoction, no measurable effect. Deer equal ticks as well. And here's the thing, when I say livestock, I'm really thinking about getting some guinea hens. Just let them run wild on the property. One guinea hen can generally clear about an acre of tick. So if I get like 7 guinea hens and train them to stay relatively close, my property should be fairly clear of ticks.
I have some experience with them. They can be
Noisy.
very annoying.
I'm only there a day a week. The neighbors may not like them, though. The other idea is ducks. I heard really good things about ducks, and that if you feed ducks high-quality feed, the eggs are almost indistinguishable from hen eggs, except that they are bigger. Maybe a little richer. Yeah. I heard the yolks are a little richer.
Yeah, I heard it better. And there's some pretty cool ducks you can get out there. Also, rabbits. A lot of people have a lot of luck with rabbits for raising animals. Produces a lot of meat.
I was going to say, if I was to do like I guess a mammal. If I was to do meat, like dark meat, there's I would probably go rabbits. Quick turnaround on those, because once again, during the winter, I may not be at this location as much as required to keep livestock through the winter, so it's going to be something that I can do either seasonably or take in with me to this location. And a couple of ducks, Melissa's probably a little more likely to let me put them out back in the little coop we got back there that I always wanted to buy chickens with, and she won't let me. And then it would be like chickens, because Melissa, for whatever reason, is very disliking the chickens. But here. Are we getting old McDonald vibes here? Not so much old McDonald. Like, I'm not going to run a whole bunch of stuff at one time, but I would like to try different livestocks over the course of a season. You know what I mean? Like, once again, next year, maybe it's ducks. The year after that, maybe it's rabbits. The year after that, maybe it's turkeys. But only one thing at a time. And then see what works. See what's compatible. Ducks, I know. And go for it, Ben.
Start with pigs.
Where I'm not there enough, I worry about pigs. Something picking them off. Or better yet, somebody stealing them.
But that's the more likely thing to someone to steal them. If you get a decent-sized pig, it'll clean that land up nice and good. Get rid of
it'll flatten it.
Brush. It'll flatten it. It'll also tear up the ground for farming. Like, if you want to plant next year, like, you put them in for a year and let them clean the land for you. And fertilizer, you just fence it in, and all you need for a shelter is a culvert, like a half a culvert or something for them to lay under. They're pretty tough. There's not much you're going to take out of
I raised pigs when I was like 10, and that's my only experience with pigs.
Yeah, I haven't raised them. My wife, they had them when they were kids. She absolutely loved them. She still talks about going down and scratching their ears. And saying, like, you take a stick and they'd let you rub them across the back with a stick, and they loved it.
Our pigs were always mean. I was told never to go around them.
But I think they're smart animal. Like, they're smarter than dogs. So if you have them and you associate with them, they'll be easy to rate to keep. But yeah, it's something to do. And for prepping land, that is a really good animal to start with.
And maybe that is the way to start. Maybe next year I'll look at getting 3 pigs or something. And like you said, put a short fence in, small hut, let them run it for a year. And I don't do much down there. Or I put them in one back section and let them run that for a year. I don't know.
Yeah. And you can move them around, right? Like, you can keep them one half for a few months and then move them to the other half.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it won't take them long. And old roots and stuff, they'll root them right out of the ground, right?
Well, that's where I'm at now, is I'm trying to get all the roots and stuff out of the driveway that grew up, right? So I'd take my truck in there. I wouldn't take Mel's car in there, kind of deal.
Yeah. So,
excuse me.
If you're having trouble with a lot of that stuff, they'll help you with that, like, just naturally. Like,
and that might be something fun, too, like I said. The reason I was kind of going on ducks, and you're kind of swaying me here, is I heard ducks, 1, they'll get rid of ticks. 2, you can eat the eggs. 3, you can eat the ducks. 4, if you have a small swimming pool there with water in it, when you go to change the water, that water is basically a super nitrogen-rich fertilizer. You just take it, water your garden, and it's like giving it a boost every single time you do it.
They're also really good in the garden, apparently, because they won't necessarily eat your garden, but they'll eat every grub, snail, slug, you name it, in there, right? So they'll keep it pretty insect free. Um, but yeah, there's probably a logical process of what animals would be really good to start with.
And that's the
Um,
thing, at the back part of the property where there's still swampy area, providing we have normal rainfall, I could probably still have a small pool of water for these ducks.
yeah.
So anyway,
So
those are thoughts on livestock, and I don't know where I'll go. Like, this is all just, you know, thoughts on a brainstorm at the moment. We'll see. A lot of things go into this permit wise, what's legal, what's not, the time I have to put in there, am I going to have enough time to raise or take care of? Money, of course, is going to be a big factor. I can only dump so much money in at one time. Is
yeah,
there a problem with predators? And that's the other thing, Fish, is this is out there far enough. I can remember as a kid just standing on my deck and shining the flashlight in the woods and watching the coyotes run by. There's coyotes, there's potentially black bears in the area. Smaller predators like foxes, owls, weasels, muskrats, those are all very prominent in the area as well. So predators are going to be a problem.
and my
Raccoons, yes,
experience
tons of
raising
raccoons.
chickens,
What's that?
even in my experience raising chickens, and I assume ducks would be very similar, is they are attractants to predators. So even though I lived surrounded by people, I wasn't in the boonies. We did lose quite a few chickens too, and it got to the point where I was using some pretty heavy duty fencing and chicken wire to keep everything out. So I really did have to protect my chickens. That was a significant effort, and I put a lot of money into protecting my chickens.
So somebody told me, and I don't know if
Yeah.
it's true or not. This is going to be one of the things we may learn together. Geese. Buy a couple geese per so many chickens. They tend to keep the predators down. Noisy as hell, but they tend to keep the predators down. Which is what I thought would go good with the ducks, or potentially
Geese,
pigs.
geese, yeah, geese are known to be territorial and quite aggressive, and can be more effective of a deterrent to both pests and humans than a guard dog.
Yeah, I've been attacked by a goose in a culvert, and I can tell you. Well, I was attacked by a Canadian goose in a culvert, and that was a fight for my life. That's all I can say. That's a whole other story. But I don't know about farm geese. I assume they're just as bad.
Hmm?
I assume farm geese are just as vicious.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're. I've had a couple of run-ins with them, and like when they throw their wings out and they start like honking and coming towards you. Like you tend to want to get out of the way.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a deterrent, right? It's spectacular in all the wrong ways.
um, but yeah, even yourself, like if you're not socializing with them enough, if they don't think of you as something that's supposed to be there, you may find that you're fighting your own geese.
And that's another worry. And to a degree, I wouldn't mind if I couldn't go right up to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want it chasing me the first thing I turned in the driveway. Well, that's what I mean. You pull in and it's out there hammering on the truck. Because I had a
Hissing at
rooster
you.
like that once. I raised chickens for quite literally most of my young life. And we had one rooster. If it didn't recognize the vehicle, the person, or whatever, didn't matter on the property where it was, beeline. And it was going for blood. Like it just went nuts. It was hilarious for people that visited. But I mean, that's not exactly what I want for the goose, because I don't want to have to fight this thing every single time I go to the property. But if it just, leaves me alone, I leave it alone, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things we can talk. I learned a lot in those last years with what I looked into.
And I am going
There's
to
a
pick your
few
brain
other-
on it.
Yeah. So potentially, you're looking at it for food, both plant and animal. You're looking at, testing out your foraging capabilities there, and maybe even making clay and stuff. We're talking about maybe testing shelters, like temporary shelters, tents, equipment and gear. Also, maybe small gatherings there. Maybe some I don't know, if training or lessons or even if collaboration
And I
potential
think
is
that'd be the
there.
better word is collaboration. I don't know if I ever want to say lessons or courses. That's a
Yeah,
whole bunch more permits. But collaboration
yeah,
seems like a good way to go.
yeah. So that sounds pretty cool, pretty exciting. Yeah. So probably see little things for the next few months and maybe more exciting things as the spring comes around.
Yeah, I think for the winter here, it's going to be mainly cleanup. We're going to try and get a lot of the old blowdowns cut out of there. The idea is there's a lot of popple in there, or trembling aspen, gray aspen, as most people would know it. And it's. I can lumber it. Popple doesn't make the best lumber for much other than like truck decks and barn floorboards. But I'm going to lumber it and I may use it to build some stuff. You know what I mean? Use what you got and it is what it is. It's plentiful. Worst case, I'm going to trim a lot of it down. I'm going to turn it into charcoal, which is another thing I'm going to do there. I'm going to build like a big mud pit, and I've done this before and it's worked well in small batches. I'm going to try and do a massive batch of charcoal at once, like probably a couple 100 pounds worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's basically just building a big clay oven, setting it on fire, shoving a whole bunch of stuff in it, let it go rip roaring, slap a cap on it, and seal it up the door. And it'll, much like when you make charcoal and stuff, it continues to burn inside without oxygen. It carbonizes everything. Leave it for a few days because you don't want to poke that open with, all that carbonization going on, and all of a sudden it gets a big breath of oxygen. You could have a very lively time with it. But once it cools down and stuff, you dig it open, and ideally you have tons of charcoal, which in turn can be used in the forge. So the idea is I'm going to try and keep as much of the stuff on the property be used on the property. So instead of just, getting the trees hauled out of there, or just burning them on spot or whatever, I'm going to try and cut them down in some 8-foot logs, anything that's nice and straight and doesn't have a lot of knots in it. I know somebody with a sawmill. I'm going to run them up. I'm going to do a little sawing from time to time. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I'm going to turn a lot of the bigger limbs and stuff into charcoal like I was talking about. I'm going to split some of the bigger, knottier stuff up into firewood for the fire pit. Even if I put the shed in there, there's almost 100% chance I'm going to put a small wood stove in it. That way, if I am in there in the winter or something, I have a spot where I can get warmed up, maybe have a cup of tea and a sandwich.
Yeah.
So I have uses for it. Now, what to do with all of it until I get to the uses is the question, you know what I mean? Because I still got to do a lot of spacing saw work down there, so the bushes and brambles and stuff like that will probably get burnt off. But now, all these blowdowns, I got to pull them out one at a time, figure out what I want to do with that specific tree, do whatever I want to do with that tree, so maybe one log goes for lumber, 12 feet goes for firewood, all these big limbs will go to the charcoal pile, all these small limbs will go to the burn pile. And maybe that's how the next 6 months is going to go for me. I don't know, but I will keep people informed. And if anybody has any ideas or is just bored, give me a call and I will let you know how to get there. I'm not going to post it up online, but I will let you know how to get in there.
Very good. Okay. That's almost an hour.
Oh yeah, we're well over. We're at 50 minutes this time, but I knew it was going to be a little long. I was excited about it and I wanted to tell everybody because I have had a lot of questions on it. That one short video, in the 24 hours it was up or something like that, it had 900 views. Like, it was just, I've never seen numbers like that other than on the audio side. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I got to play with some stuff, and I'm going to learn some stuff. Hopefully do some more shorts. I think I'm going to do a lot of the stuff over the next few months just in shorts for the property, because I don't think it's really going to require an entire video. It's just going to be little updates, little things, unless something interesting happens. It'll just be like every now and then I'll do a little short, like, hey folks, here's what's going on now, here's what's changed, have a good one. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be the best way to handle it. I don't think I need to tie up a bunch of our resources making videos that really have no content yet. That'll come in the spring. We're jealous of you, fish. The tactical goose. Nobody should be jealous of me. I mean, this is something I've been, or I hope you're not jealous, at least in all honesty, because it's just something I've wanted for a long time. My opinion's always been they stop making land, like, so buy what you can of it, and hopefully have a little fun with it. And this just happened to be something that I dug my claws into. I was really animated about it, and everybody that needed to finally agreed with me, and now it's squared away. I did end up losing a piece of property for acquiring this one, but that's a whole other story. this is the better thing, I think, for me anyway. But yeah, good spot to end it here for tonight. I know you didn't get a whole lot in word-wise here tonight, Ben, because me chatting on my property, but I am definitely going to be picking your brain going forward because I still want this to be a collaboration between the two of us. And because I'm going to be setting up your forge, I'd like your opinion on it, and because you have a little bit more experience when it comes to poultry than I do. So when that rolls around, I'm definitely going to be picking your brain. And if I do go for pigs, I'll be picking the missus's brain as well.
She's over to piggies.
I'm not against pigs. I just don't know how Mel would feel about it. I'd have to ask her. Because hopefully she's going to assist to some degree.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy pigs. I really do.
I don't remember much about them.
What?
I don't remember much about them. I remember having them as a kid. I remember them being back there. I just don't remember much about them. I was just too young.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a ton of stuff you can do for sure with that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more on it, and I'm definitely going to, answer any questions I can or help you do some research. In the meantime, I hope other people who have ideas or thoughts could definitely share them. But there's a lot of potential to test different equipment, see what things work, long-term tests of things. Like if you set up a solar panel system with a battery, how does that work over time? What other things can you do? So yeah, I for one will be looking forward to seeing what comes of this, and maybe in the next year or two I'll get down to check it out and help out for a few days.
That's what I mean. Next time you're in Nova Scotia, buddy, you're going to have to take a trip down. I'll buy you a coffee. We'll go for a drive.
Yeah.
You'll love the drive. It's down by the beach. It's a beautiful place.
Very good.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good night.